Having issues with unruly citizens, rebellions everywhere, and you're not getting enough points to actually keep up with your enemies? Well, that probably means you have taken over all the cities on the map and you do not have enough vassals. I know the vassal system is relatively unique to Millennia, like Civilization doesn't have this system. So for everyone who is still pretty new to the game, let me explain how this works very quickly. Whenever you are building a city through a settler, you are taking over a neutral city, or, well, you are taking cities from your enemies, they will not become yours immediately, they will become vassals. Now, of course, after some time, when they're integrated enough, you can just go to a vassal and say, okay, you know what? You will now be integrated. I want direct control of everything you are doing here, and you will become part of my official empire. Right? And I see a lot of people doing that immediately because, again, they want control. They're used to it, that all their cities are their own from, let's say, the Civ games. Now, in this game, that's a bad idea. That's a really bad idea because vassals are really important. They can give you a lot of points, they can give you a lot of supports, and more importantly, they can keep your unrests in your whole empire in check. And no, I will not talk about the special governments which are focusing on the vassals, like the feudal monarchy here, or like the special social trees like chivalry, which is also focusing on vassals. That's something you can try out in your playthrough, or I will make a separate video at some point about it. We are just talking about vassals and how they always work and how they will make the gameplay experience better for you, even if you decide not to go with any of the special social or government aspects of the game. So, as I said, you have probably noticed that the more cities you have, the more unrest you have in those cities. And the reason for that is pretty simple. When you are going over here with the mouse, you will see that I'm getting unrest from the population, and the number of regions. And it only counts the regions you directly own. You can see I have this city, and my main city. Wait, that's only 3 out of 4 though, Mo. Yeah, for whatever reason, the main city counts as 2. I don't know why, but that's how it is apparently calculated, from what I figured out. But I have only 3 regions, and this is why I get 4 unrest. Now, 4 unrest is manageable, right? You're just putting a garrison in there, you're putting some buildings down which are taking care of the unrest. That's manageable. But the more areas you take, the more problematic it becomes. And this is where already the vassals will shine, because the vassals do not count to the unrest. They will not produce any unrest for you. And that also means if you ever get close that one of your cities would just succeed from your empire and they would rebel against them, make them vassals. I know that sucks, that you are losing control over them for a little bit, but it's still better than having a city being very far away from your empire. It will be taken over by rebels, and it would take turns and turns to actually take them back. It's far easier to just convert them back to vassals, because vassals do not rebel against you. Well, if there are certain world events, then that might happen. But from a standard gameplay perspective, they will not produce any unrest, and they will never get the idea to succeed from your empire. So they will always give you points, they will never rebel against you. And the points they can produce is actually quite high. You can see the income the vassal is producing here for me, which is really good. And yes, I'm aware this is because of like some of the talents I'm using and some of the points I have been investing. But nonetheless, even if you don't do that, they still will give you a certain amount of points. And this is where it becomes really interesting. You have probably already used quite often your improvement points to just improve some tiles on the world map. And, well, you have seen that your vassals are doing the same thing, even though you do not have control about which buildings they're actually improving. Now, there are some questionable decisions, like you can see it right here. They have a lot of mines, but instead of like building like production buildings now for the mines, they are putting down more hunting areas. And it's like, why are you doing this, right? But the good news is they will not use your improvement points. The improvement points they're utilizing is their own pool they have, so you just get all those, well, improvements for free. And when you take over, you can just say, okay, you know what? We don't need all those mines. Let's remove this. Let's focus on something else. And then you can use your own improvement points. But at least you already have those buildings for free. So let the vassals do their thing and then take over at some point when you feel like, okay, the city is not big enough, it's self-sustainable, and I can go into another direction, or I can focus on certain aspects. The city would do pretty well on my own, right? So the biggest tip I can give you is do not just go around and convert all your vassals into your own cities. Especially when you look at Valencia here right now. I have 20 people in here. They are cheating, right? Because if you are looking at the improvements they have around Valencia, you realize very quickly they should not have the resources to sustain 20 people. Like, it's not really possible. There's so much stuff missing, and they should be in deep trouble. But because they're your vassal and they're using like some simplified calculation in the background how this all works, vassals can still grow pretty big, and then at some point you can just say, okay, I'm taking over. Of course, there's one last downside we have to talk about, and that is you do not have direct control over your vassals, and that also means you cannot just produce units if you need them for the war effort, right? So if you are at war, you hopefully have pre-prepared quite a bit of units in the cities you have, because again, your vassals will not produce units. They will not help you with your war effort. Again, if you're not using some special abilities you can unlock, but that's a different topic. But in its own, they will not produce unit to help you. They will not produce military units. Very important to note. But with that said, that's basically everything I can tell you about vassals. If you still have some questions or some ideas for other players to know about vassals, please let me know down below in the comments. If you're also new to the channel, I would appreciate if you liked the video, if you enjoyed it and found it helpful, and also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Millennia videos, and more importantly, see more strategy videos, because that is what this channel is focusing about: strategy, management, and building games. With that said, thank you so much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.